Well, I got kind of a mess of spaghetti here right now. I'm digging out the wiring harnesses and trying to figure out how to route this. Put the radio rack in, and I got the wiring harness out for it. I've got a bank of circuit breakers and switches in down there that don't really mean anything. They're just kind of in there to see how things are gonna lay, not necessarily for them. Getting this mess straightened out here. Intercom in and put the jack on it. I've got a wire cable run here for the switch. This is for the mic switch, to switch the mic back and forth between the VHF and the aircraft comm radio. And then there's a jack over here for auxiliary input for the intercom. We got the power cables here, and this is all of the headset circuitry here. Well, I've got antenna cable here for the VHF hooked in and run up through and into the wing root. I'll get these headset cables laid out and run up there, and this is a push-to-talk switch for the co-pilot position, the backseat position, and so I'm going to get those laid out. I may wind up replacing all of these. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I don't want any splices in them. I don't want to have to splice them, so to see, I think they were plenty long enough, but we'll see when I get them laid out whether they're long enough to run or whether I need to make up a new wiring harness for these. So we'll get this laid out and kind of routed in here. Years ago, I got that roll of tie wraps from Boeing Surplus. I don't know what there is, probably 1 million of them or more, maybe more than that, maybe 1,000. I don't know. I suppose they were belt fed or something in the Boeing factory. Anyway, I got a bunch of them, and they're kind of coming in handy now. I can use them for permanent tie-ups on some of these wire bundles to make the bundles up, and I can also use them for temporary hookups on the route, the running and whatnot that I do on here. I can just use kind of these to temporarily hold them where they go, and I don't have to worry about wasting something that I paid a bunch for. This is a little bunch of them that I cut off, been using off of, so they're just all tied onto there. I just take a pair of nips and nip one off when I want it. And quite a few of these wires have some grease and oil on them from just the years of ones in the wing roots, and different places have a little bit of oil or grease, dirt on them. I just got a rag here, a shop towel with some paint thinner on it, and I'm just wiping these down now as I'm running through these. It's like this wire here is, what's that for? The pilot's push-to-talk switch. That wire, the way it was run, it's got paint overspray on it and stuff. Clean that up a little bit, get the grease off of it. Also gives me a chance to go over these wires by hand to check for any nicks or gouges or bad kinks or anything like that that may cause a problem. But one of the things I want to do is keep all these wires routed as far away from where this magnetic compass is going to mount as possible. Try to keep any stray magnetic current from building up. Alright, now so far the cables are running okay back there. The pilot's headset and mic jacks are plenty long enough. The co-pilots are going to be a question. They're right back where I could put them where they're at, but I still haven't decided whether that's where I'm going to put them or not. I'm thinking I might put them back a little bit farther to get them farther away from the line of sight out those windows, or get them down where they are not quite so interfering with turning your head and stuff around those windows. Okay, that kind of does the comm stuff here, at least temporarily. It's an idea how to route it. Gets it kind of tied up a little bit. I still have all of the ground cables here to redo. I cut those because everything is all tangled and running through these cables in different spots, kind of twisted up and kind of keeping it from pulling the bundles together into a neater mess. Okay, that's a start. I have to run one new cable, and that's a cable for the ELT. I've got a 406 megahertz ELT, and it takes you can tap off of the GPS output onto it, and that'll put the GPS coordinates in memory on the ELT, which then will get sent out in case the ELT activates. It'll send out the GPS coordinates. So we've got the GPS in this aircraft comm radio, and it has an RS-232, I think that's what it is, output that'll work for that. The ELT is in the back shelf of the airplane in the baggage compartment, of course. We've got to run a cable from here to there, and it needs to be, according to instructions, it needs to be a 3-wire cable with the ground, preferably. So I've got this 3-wire cable with the ground, and it happens to be a shielded wire. That should work out good. We need 1 wire that'll go into the GPS unit for the RS-232. 1 wire goes to the aircraft power supply, and then 1 wire goes to the aircraft ground. I'll strip this back into components, so we'll have 3 wires in the ground. Next thing I want to do is run a wire, 2 wires from the front all the way to the back on the outside here, on the probably the left side, for the beacon and the tail position light. I've been laying out these wires for this wiring harness, and I'm not really very happy with the way it lays out. Now this is just mostly the wiring harness for the radios that I've got in there so far. It's not even the stuff for the instruments or any of the other stuff on there. It's just a radio wiring harness, but it's just nasty. Like I say, I'm not very happy with it. I was thinking about redoing the whole thing. You see there's a big gob of wire here. It's all bundled up in this where it goes into the radios, and it's just a kind of tangled mess. And I was going to try to redo it all. I had a bunch of pins that came with the airplane for the Garmin radio, so I spent half a day the other day going through all my stuff trying to find those pins. I'd put them someplace where they wouldn't get lost, and then I couldn't find them, and I knew I had them in one of my little parts trays, but I went through everything 3 times and I couldn't find the doggone things. And one of the things it did allow me to do was get the shop straightened up a little bit, so that was a good thing. But I finally found them right where I'd put them, and just in one of the bins. I took them and counted them out, and I had 22 pins, so I got to looking to figure out if I could do anything with this mess. But the problem is the pins that I've got are all female sockets, and they're for this one, where'd it go here? Just this one jack here that goes into the comm radio, and it doesn't that doesn't have very many wires coming out of it. Basically it's just power and ground, and I will put another wire going into there for an RS I think it's 232 output that'll come out of this and go back to the ELT. So those are the only jacks that I've got pins for. So these are all male pins and these other 2 jacks. So I'm not going to be able to rewire that. But it's like this mess here. There's a really tight bundle there, and anyway, it's pretty much of a mess. I did wind up cutting some of this tie wraps and stuff on these bundles so I could get these wires straightened out and run a little neater, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it, I guess. So I'll just have to see if I can't straighten them out a little bit and neaten them up a little bit. I'll get them routed so they're a little better. I'll get some wires run for the solenoids for the starter and the master solenoid.